Straight right boxing talk. What's up, everybody? We're a couple weeks out now from another pretty good fight, Canelo versus Chavez Jr. We're going to do the usual rundown here, the good, the bad, and how Chavez can win this fight. Off the bat, Canelo Alvarez, 48 wins, 1 loss, 34 knockouts. He stands 5'9", probably a generous 5'9", and he has a 70.5-inch reach. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., 50 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 32 knockouts. He's 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. Their last 3 fights, Canelo had that unanimous decision win for the lineal middleweight title against Miguel Cotto, November 21st, 2015. He knocked out Khan in 6th, May 7th of 2016, and then he knocked out Liam Smith in 9 at 154, and that was September 17th. Julio Cesar Chavez, he lost in 9 rounds after getting knocked down by Fonfara. That was back in April the 18th, 2015. That fight was at 175. From there, he fought and won a unanimous decision against Marcos Reyes, July 18th, 2015. Chavez missed the weight. It was a 170-pound catch weight. And then he had a unanimous decision win over Dominic Britch, December 10th, 2016. Their best wins, you'd have to give Canelo the win over Miguel Cotto. And for Chavez, you'd probably say Andy Lee, 7th round technical knockout back on June 16th, 2012. That fight was at 160 pounds, and that was for the WBC title, which Chavez would go on to lose to Sergio Martinez. On to their strengths. With Canelo first, he's an unbelievable counterpuncher right off the bat. He places his punches well, and he's also a very good combination puncher. He baits and sets traps well, and he has good power. He's had good power at 154 and at 155, whatever the fuck, Canelo weight as it's known. But will that power carry up? We don't know yet. We're going to find out shortly. Canelo stays poised at all times. You could see that against Liam Smith and against Khan. He was patient against Khan. I think he lost a lot of those early rounds, as a lot of people do, but he waited it out. And he feinted Khan. Khan left that lazy jab hanging out there, and he counted him over the top of it and fucking blew him up with it. He's reasonably good defensively for his style. He moves his head a little bit. His timing is very good. He fights in a broken rhythm, and he's hard to time for that reason. And that's important in boxing. Boxing is a lot about setting patterns and then breaking those patterns. Canelo does that fairly well. He's a better overall boxer, and he's faster overall than Chavez Jr. That's pretty obvious. And I think it's going to be obvious again in May when this fight happens. He adapts very well within himself, within his game. He kind of pressured Lara. He countered Kirkland, and he fought a disciplined fight against Miguel Cotto. So he's definitely not one-dimensional. He's a creative puncher as well. And he gets his body behind his punches too, which is important. So far from Canelo, we've seen that he's got a really solid chin. We're going to see how that comes into play soon against a much bigger guy who probably hits harder than he's used to. Over to Chavez now. His overall size and his physical strength are in his favor. He's a mauler. He's a fucking bully by nature. The way he fights, the way he comes into the ring, rehydrated and all that. He's also iron-chinned, strong-willed, and extremely heavy-handed. Well, I don't know if I would actually say extremely. He's definitely heavy-handed, though. You could see all of those things in effect in the Andy Lee fight. Granted, it was from 5 years ago now, which is crazy, but Chavez also is an extremely good body puncher. That's probably his bread and butter. He throws a lot of punches, and he uses decent enough variety on those punches. He likes to mix it up on the inside, and he does that fairly effectively. But he could do more. He could be more creative getting on the inside, as in using more feints and jabbing more, or fucking jabbing at all sometimes. Because you'll see him just come in head first a lot, like a goddamn lunatic, and he did that against Fanfara. It was berserk. He throws most punches with the intention of doing damage, not scoring points. I enjoy that personally. I like boxing all around. I'm sure most of you guys do too, but a lot of times you like to see someone try to take the fight out of the judge's hands. And we've seen a lot of fights recently that are examples of why that's fucking important these days. Chavez is a good combination puncher, especially those hooks to the body. Like I said, that's his bread and butter. He's also shown he can fight determinedly late in the game, as he did when nearly knocking out Maravilla in the 12th round of their fight, which he ultimately lost. But he proved that he's got balls when he's in the ring. He fights to win more often than not. He knows what's on the line in this fight. They're hyping it up as a big Mexican rivalry. It's on Cinco de Mayo weekend. So, when he's motivated, he can put up a good fight. And he's also trained now by the legend Nacho Beristain, and he's being strength and conditioning coached by the not-so-legendary Angel Heredia, who we all fucking know. We all know what he is. But that's a pair of guys who helped Marquez prepare for his fight with Manny Pacquiao, where he absolutely fucking obliterated Manny with that one shot. What does that mean for this fight? Who the fuck knows? We'll see. Nacho, I would assume, is going to be very good. Well, you could probably assume both of them are going to be good for Chavez. That remains to be seen. He could be his own worst enemy. On to weaknesses now. Canelo Alvarez is very flat-footed. He's got heavy feet. He's pretty deliberate in his overall movement, and he does not know how to cut off the ring very well whatsoever. In the past, he has struggled a bit with boxer movers, guys like Erislandy Lara, Floyd Mayweather, and Amir Khan. I felt like he was losing a lot of those rounds to Khan up until the point where he sent him to the fucking shadow realm. So, his power was great in that fight. Will his power carry up? That remains to be seen. He couldn't hurt or drop Miguel Cotto. I think overall he's more of an accumulation puncher, with obvious exceptions though, like when he murdered a fucking shot to shit Kirkland, and then that body shot that he put down Liam Smith with. Canelo, his defense overall is fair. He can be hit, but he does a pretty good job of not getting hit cleanly. Will his chin hold up against a guy who's has power and has fought at 175? We don't know. What we're gonna see. Canelo hasn't fought at this 164 before. Is the extra weight going to affect him at all? You'd have to think it might in some way. He can't afford to be sluggish. In the past, Canelo has also struggled with volume punchers, surprisingly against Leonardo Tyner and Austin Trout even. And that could come into play, because if Chavez is one thing, he's a fucking volume puncher. Canelo also used to have an issue of gassing a little bit early in his career. Will the weight affect that? Or will Chavez's body punching affect that? Well, maybe both, maybe neither. Something interesting to look out for. Canelo is also going to lose his customary rehydration advantage in this fight, because while I'm sure he's going to fucking come in pretty heavy, he's not going to be as heavy as Chavez. Chavez plays that game just as well as he does, so Chavez is going to considerably outweigh him. He's going to be much taller, and it's going to have some effect on this fight. You can count on that. Over to Chavez Jr. now. His first flaw is his motivation. He's been his own worst enemy in the past, more than once. He also has a porous defense, and he, like I said earlier, he often rushes in head first, like he did against Fonfara, and that's something he cannot afford to do in this fight. Any fight, really, but especially this fight. We'll talk about it in a bit. He throws tons of punches, but not especially creatively. He's more of an overwhelmer. And he can't cut the ring off either. He's in the same boat as Canelo. Neither guy cuts the ring off well. His inactivity as of late will probably play against him in this fight, as will his inability or unwillingness to find a weight and stick to it. Canelo suffers from the same. Chavez relies on his size a lot for an advantage. And like I said, Canelo does too, but that's going to obviously favor Chavez on this occasion. Chavez is not a prolific jabber, and that hurts his overall game too, because if he could jab more and feint a little bit, he could get inside more where he does a lot of his body work. He just sometimes is stubborn about doing that type of shit. Will the weight cut hurt him? Yep, it's very likely it will. It's going to be the lightest weight he's come in at in 5 years, assuming he makes weight. And in 5 years, that's 5 fights for him. So that shows you how active or inactive he has been. Chavez is kind of a one-trick pony, and that one trick is to wear you the fuck down and beat you up. As I said, he has no real jab to speak of. He kind of just bull rushes in a crouch, and he tries to land power shots from the inside or from mid-range. Can he afford to just rush in like that against Canelo? No. How does Chavez win this fight? Well, he's got to make the most of his size and reach advantage, first of all. And he has to find creative ways to get inside without taking damage from Canelo. As we know, Canelo was an extremely sharp counterpuncher. And he can throw creative. He can uppercut. He can do what he'll fucking hit you if you come in with your head down like a goddamn maniac. So Chavez can't be pulling that shit. He's got to try to jab, feint, do whatever he can so he can put work in on Canelo's body intelligently and still be kind of fresh if and when the fight wears on. Chavez can't be too aggressive either in doing that and allow, again, for Canelo's stellar counter punches to land. His best chance is to keep the fight at a distance and to use his length, leverage, and power to wear down the smaller fighter. He doesn't want to get into that fucking routine of bending forward and coming in low and allowing himself to get fucking battered. That killed him against Fonfara. And granted, that was against a bigger man, and that's something that he wasn't used to either, which will be Canelo's case. Going toe-to-toe with Canelo is a risk that he probably doesn't want to take in this fight either. Can Chavez stay disciplined and fight that way? That remains to be seen. In the end, because Canelo fights more intelligently and has more technical skill, I think he wins this fight. He'll use Chavez's reckless aggression against him and counter him with great frequency and force. I don't think he has the power to turn off Julio's lights. He might grind him down and possibly put him down with a headshot or a body shot, especially if Chavez has a hard time making weight, which is also very likely. In my opinion, I think a weight drain Chavez will fight hard. He'll give it his all, being that it's Cinco de Mayo weekend, and with the stakes that they've made this fight, or, the way that they've hyped this up, he'll give it his all. If the weight affects him, I think a Canelo body shot could end it sometime between 8 and 10, something like that. Or, if not, if they both stay pretty fresh, it could easily go the distance. But Canelo's not going to lose this fight on points. Let me know what you guys think. This is an interesting fight. I'm curious to hear your opinions. And as always, thanks again for listening. Straight Right Boxing Talk. I really appreciate it, and I hope everybody is doing well.